Well, good afternoon. This is coming to you live from Destin, Florida. This is the last week of our vacation, last day of the vacation, and I didn't pack a razor, so I'm not growing a beard. I just didn't bring any. I don't have a razor here at our place. So, anyway, I knew that I wouldn't have time to put this together when I got home, so I thought I'd go ahead and knock it out during this rainy afternoon, just to give you an idea of something that we've been doing for the last 2 years. It's been very effective. Years ago, John Barksdale and I started doing digital case presentation using PowerPoint and Photoshop and things like that. And this is just bringing it up to the next level out of necessity. I just found that doing these case presentations during the course of a day was very time consuming. Might be in the middle of something. Now it's time for the consult. I just found that in some cases, my treatment coordinator wasn't being very effective in communicating some of the ideas that were needed to get across. And the other thing is, in a lot of cases, the patient would come in for a consultation, they weren't accompanied by their husband or significant other, and the message got lost in the consult room. So I decided to start creating these videos and forwarding to patients ahead of time before they came in for their real consult visit, just so they'd get a better idea of where we are in terms of our perception of their problems and possible solutions, and really to do a more effective job of explaining and educating than we can possibly do in the middle of a busy day in most busy dental practices. Um, Going forward, let's see if I can find my little deal. So we found this just to be a more effective way to communicate value uh, for our patients that are considering moderate to extensive dental care. Um, I'll give you an example. Is let's try and describe New Orleans, Louisiana to a stranger. You say, well, it was founded in 1718. It's well renowned for its distinctive music and Creole cuisine, unique dialects, and its annual celebrations, festivals, most notably Mardi Gras. The historic heart of the city is a French Quarter known for French and Spanish Creole architecture and vibrant nightlife along Bourbon Street and so forth. Or we can show them this.
Get up, New Orleans! Welcome to Ducky Chase. Who that? Who that?
We are percussive beings. Rhythm lives within us. Who that, babe? 504.
If I was trying to sell somebody on coming to visit New Orleans, I think the video would be more effective than just my verbal communication of the way that I see the city. So anyway, so here's the backstory. Sitting back to about 2 years ago, um, instead of doing what we did in the past, which was showing PowerPoint and before and afters and things like that in the consult room in the middle of a busy day, um, as I said before, sometimes the person that is going to be paying for the treatment or the other decision maker isn't even in the room. And what happened with me was I saw this new patient who was the daughter of one of my high school classmates, and she had numerous problems. And the whole time I'm thinking, this is the daughter of a girl that I went to high school with, and her daughter needs extensive treatment. I'm not sure that she can afford it. I don't know where to go with this. And so I said, I'm just going to put together a presentation and I'm going to email it to Kathleen, and I know that she's going to show it to her dad, who's also a patient, and then the daughter is going to see it as well, and maybe I can communicate the things that I communicate better in this fashion than I can the way that we've been doing things in the past. And long and the short of it is, she wound up having the treatment done. She's real happy. They accepted the case, I think, primarily because they were able to have the vision of what we were talking about, understand and have value for this whole complicated scenario. So that was kind of the beginning of it. And the advantages and features of doing this is that it's going to give the patient the ability to review these cases as much as needed to fully understand all aspects of the findings from the exam visit. We get a much greater case acceptance for patients requiring moderate to extensive care. We get a good preoperative reference for the doctor and employees, especially for delayed patients. We get great for making sure that referrals are on the same page. It's a comprehensive view of all possible problems and solutions that they have in hand that they can watch over and over again at their convenience, instead of in the middle of a busy day and they're wondering how much longer is it going to be, and I'm in a hurry, and then you sit them in this room and there's these ugly pictures of their teeth that everybody else is seeing, and it's embarrassing, as opposed to being able to view this in the privacy of their own home, and maybe view it more than once, and also with a significant other, such as a spouse or loved one, etc. It saves us a lot of time and not having to leave the operatory and to go in these consultation rooms during office hours. I really do think it creates value for dentistry. It's a great medical legal documentation, and it gives the front office as well as the clinical staff a much better idea of what the heck's going on, so they can better confer with patients as needed initially, as well as during the course of treatment. So after doing this, we begin to discover that there were a lot of other features that evolved out of this, other than just being able to send the case presentation to the patient so that they can view it. The sort of workflow involved involves things that we've always done, which is photos, and we keep them in a folder on the office server in alphabetical order. X-rays, which you've already taken, CT scan results, digital models, which we're doing more nowadays, patient animations, such as those from Blue Sky Bio website. We'll talk about that more later. Using Dentron imaging instead of Photoshop to create a simulation of a before and after simulation for patients to look at. Using chairside charting software to give them an illustration of where they used to be, where they are now, and where we're headed. Microsoft PowerPoint software, which most people have. But the main two things are Camtasia software from TechSmith and or Snagit software from TechSmith. This is an advanced program that we've used for a long time. Dr. Barksdale and I used this back when we were teaching our digital imaging course at LSU. Snagit is a much less costly, less involved piece of software. It doesn't have all the features that Camtasia does, but it's got its own unique features that we'll talk about in a little while. Then a YouTube channel, and if you don't know how to establish one, and I certainly didn't, you can get one of your kids to show you how to do that, because it's very easy to do. And then putting together a few notes to give a personalized commentary that's recorded while clicking through the presentation, or it can be recorded separately and then dumped into the presentation and combined and then exported out. So that's kind of a brief summary of all the ingredients that go into this, and we'll call it a gumbo, because it's comprised of a lot of things. But primarily, we use Camtasia software from TechSmith, and it's kind of like creating a timeline. If you were producing a piece of music or a song, where you drag in the violins and you drag in the piano and then the voice and then maybe the drums and the bass guitar in the background, and you adjust these things and align them, and then you export that out to create an MP4 file, which is a video file. And then that file can be uploaded to YouTube. You create a link, and then you send that link to the patient. Only they can view it because it's saved as an unlisted link. Not anybody can just pull it up. Only the people with that hyperlink can actually see it. So like I said, it's like making a video gumbo. First ingredient is we've got to get the new photographs. As I said, we keep them all on the server in a new photos file, and Windows puts these in alphabetical order for you, so you don't have to go hunting for them. So we retrieve our photographs, and then we'll go ahead and get our x-rays and pull all this into PowerPoint. And then we'll use Dentron cosmetic imaging software, which allows you to be able to create a smile simulation in a minute or two at the most. It doesn't take very long at all. Much less involved than using Photoshop. And I've become very proficient at Photoshop, but I use this 100% of the time now. And so here we're able to give this patient, Beverly, an idea of some treatment possibilities as far as shade and the alignment of the teeth and so on and so forth. So she comes in with a flip or partial denture, real intelligent woman, a good friend of mine, Johnny Bate from New Iberia. This is a good friend of his. He just retired from dentistry. So he had referred her in. She'd been in a car accident. She had this flipper partial that she'd been wearing. She's miserable with it. Just to give her an idea of what we can do with fixed dentistry, in this particular case, implant supported. But here we can go through these images and point out some of the things that we see that are problematic. This is unsightly. This is the coloration is off on that eye tooth. We've got some extrusion here. This tooth is missing down here. Of course, we're missing the ones in the front. And she's basically pretty miserable with the upper flipper partial denture. You can see these issues on the lower. But the other thing is, now that a lot of us are doing digital imaging, we can go ahead and real easily just capture this video using Snagit in the video mode, just to be able to show them some of the depth that goes into our exams and our diagnostic process. I mean, it's kind of a shame that we go to all this trouble a lot of times and they don't even get to see what we're going through. You know, here we've got some broken porcelain with food impaction, broken porcelain here. These teeth are kind of banged up. In a moment, we'll look at the lower arch. But it allows you to be able to kind of move things around. You can see these crowns all beat up over here. We've got open contact, broken porcelain, food impaction, missing teeth down here. And it's just real easy to pull this up and throw it into the Camtasia Gumbo and then produce the video that we're going to wind up sending for her as well as her new husband. Here is the panoramic view. I like to use an illustration software because it kind of simplifies things. It's like, you know, this is where her dentition as well as mine used to be when I was 18 years old, and here's where she is now. And sometimes for some patients, it's easier for them to look at this than the teeth themselves and kind of put two and two together. So we just kind of give everybody the advantage of both perspectives. This also helps me quite a bit when we're doing treatment planning. Just running through this whole process kind of really does help out. We'll also, you know, we're going to go into the CT scan and look at these implant sites as far as bone availability, vertical height, horizontal width, and so forth. And it's like, we're going to go to all this trouble. Why not just take a quick video of it and throw it into the video, into the Camtasia Gumbo, so that they can see what we're looking at. And this is the proposal, is that we're going to look at placing these two implants here, crowns on these teeth, crowns all the way across, restoring the entire upper arch with root form implants, and then with 2, 6, 8, and 10 sites. And you know, I think it's more understandable for them to look at things from this perspective. As I said before, we use Dentron cosmetic imaging, and basically what we're going to do is go and retrieve her before picture, and then we're going to be able to use any of these smiles up here to try and create a simulation of what we could make her look like with the final result. The software also has a number of tutorials in it, so it's really very easy to learn. And I'll just show you, you know, sort of the process itself and what's involved in doing this. This is a patient that came in for some cosmetic work and just wanted to, so we're going to go ahead and trace out the smile just like we would have done in Photoshop. And after that's done, we can scroll through this library here on the right and pick a number of different smiles. And once we've picked the smile that we think is satisfactory, then we can go in and we can brighten or darken the teeth somewhat. We can change the contrast. We can also, here we're darkening the teeth, and then we're coming back and lightening them up a little bit. And then we can change the contrast. You see up here. We can fool around with the color if need be, but we can also, what's nice is we can change the curve line until it really looks like it's following the curvature of the lower lip and looks as aesthetic as possible. Software also allows you to remove the lower teeth if you don't want to. If for some reason they're not looking right in the picture, we don't have to hang on to that either. So, you know, produce a nice simulation. We had a consultation visit, and I told her that I thought that Dr. Mike Malone would do an excellent job for her. So I referred her to Mike to go ahead and do the case for a number of reasons. One being was too busy doing implant work and so forth. The second reason being is he does such a good job that as far as conservative rehabilitations, he really does a nice job, as does Johnny Barksdale and Corky White and these other guys. But this is just showing sort of enlarged. Hear that yelling in the background? That's my grandson. I think he's hungry. I just woke up. We're not beating him. Here, just kind of going through the steps. He's usually quiet as a mouse unless I'm trying to do something like this. But this is just showing how simple this is. And we'll cut and paste these images into PowerPoint and just like I said, just to give the patient an idea. This lady, Evie, came to see me to have a single implant done. And at the consult visit, at the initial exam visit, she just all of a sudden started expressing her frustration with the appearance of her smile and having to go here and there, periodontal treatment and this and that and this and that. So I said, well, look, let's just back off. We'll take some records and then I'll have you come back in and we'll kind of go through the whole thing, kind of get an idea of some different treatment options for you. And this is just showing all the different shades and configurations of different smiles, you know, trying this and trying that, try and come up with something that looks better than what she's got right now. And of course, you know, I sent her this consultation video. She came in and said, I don't really need to talk to him. I'm kind of ready to get going on this thing. She's been a very good patient, real compliant. This is just showing diagnostic wax up. This was actually on the case before that was done at Blue Sky Bio, just to give the patient an idea of you know, some of the planning that goes into this. And so it's like we're going to go through these efforts. I'd like for them to see, you know, the trouble that we're going into, not the trouble, but just the process. And we can go ahead and insert before and after case examples, animations, etc., into these treatment presentations, just for the sake of really getting them to understand as much as possible. And then we'll go through the timeline. Phase 1, we'll use sedation with the CRNA and insert your implants, remove defective crowns, upper forelarch lab process provisionals with some degree of bite opening to reestablish the vertical dimension. And then we move on to phase 2, which is another sedation visit, fixture level impressions, final impressions. And phase 3 is inserting the case anywhere from 45 to who knows how many days later. And then finally some impressions for a night guard. And this is the case after it's been completed. Real happy patient. And you know, it's kind of neat because it just adds to this story that I'm trying to tell about trying to take a case like this and dissect it and then get them to understand all of the items that are involved and all the stuff that's involved. So number one, they'll have value for it. Number two, they'll understand why it's you know, it doesn't cost $900 to do this. I mean, there's some expense involved. As I said before, there are two options for video capture and uploading to YouTube. Both are from TechSmith.com. Snagit, I think, is about $49. I've used it for over 20 years, and I mean every day. Use it all day long. Every person in our office has a copy of it on their PC, and we can't live without it. And then Camtasia is about $350. It's a much more sophisticated piece of software that allows us to be able to do these presentations in a really professional manner. So we'll talk about Snagit first. Snagit allows you to be able to capture a single image, or you can capture a video. So you have those two options. Here, if we capture an image, I just capture an image of my calendar for the month of June. You can see tomorrow's my last day leave, getting out here and going back home to the melee. It also allows us to capture images off the internet to help explain cases and incorporate that into the video. I even use it to make this dental assistant wanted position. There's a finder's fee of $14. So if you find me a dental assistant, I'll send you $14 in American currency. But it's real useful software. Also, we can use the video mode, and in this situation right here, we've captured this images out of PowerPoint and made them into a video, which winds up being an MP4 file. and we can use that MP4 file and load it directly up to YouTube with a voiceover, or we can save it and we can incorporate it into Camtasia in combination with everything else to produce the final video case presentation. So as I said before, Camtasia software is from TechSmith. Use it not every day, but pretty damn often. You know, if you want to, you can incorporate your image into the presentation. You can adjust the microphone volumes here, pick the screen that you're going to use, turn the system audio off so that only your voice is being recorded. And then we will pull these video files into Camtasia if we've created them with Snagit, or we can just record directly out of the program, which is typically what I do. And I'll be able to explain that more in just a minute. Grandson's still not happy. Here is a MP4 video that was captured with Snagit that we wound up incorporating into Camtasia. And as you can see here, it's just a neat way to be able to show people what we are doing nowadays with all this technology. And it really is cool stuff. They have no idea. I mean, they never did have any idea what we were doing, but now they really don't, because dentistry, just as we all know, has evolved so much over the years. But this is just showing that first patient where her lower implants would go, where the crown's going to go on the lower right side, and what's involved in the upper anterior area, and on and on and on and on. So what we're doing now in Camtasia is going to import some media, okay? And in doing so, we're able to pull these files right here up into this corner, and then we want to bring them down into this timeline to be able to create the video. And then we'll arrange these in a certain order and then export them right out of this program. So here we're going to pull in some animations that we've collected over the years from Blue Sky Bio, from God, they're from all over the place. I have a whole folder full of them, and you know, you can use them to explain things that, like bone atrophy in the face, whether it's a female or a male, posterior atrophy after teeth are removed, the instability of dentures, a mandible with 2 implants and locator attachments, you know, on and on and on and on and on. There's a lot of that stuff out there now. And so this would be a good example of an animation that I show a lot. And it's just to help people understand what happens when they lose their posterior teeth. You know, we get some drifting, we get extrusion. And then the next thing you know, these lower front teeth are pounding into the upper front teeth, causing the laterals to fracture off at the gum line, which you see almost every day. Spaces opening up, anterior mobility, and so forth. So it's a real simple little short video that explains what takes forever to explain to people. And I don't even know if they understand half the time what we're getting at, but the animations and the videos do a good job. This is just showing disuse atrophy from tooth loss and why mandibular dentures just don't work without implant support. You know, here we're going to show a situation where this is what happens to women when they lose their teeth and they wear dentures. They get this facial atrophy. They don't know that. You know, they know their grandmother, you know, didn't look right, but they didn't really know why until she took her teeth out one day. This image right here, this animation, is available from Blue Sky Bio, and it illustrates the whole concept of 4 implants and lower arch with locator attachments, and then a locator supported implant over denture. And like I said, it's a short video. You can find these on the Blue Sky Bio website. You know, you explain to the patient, you know, the implant's in place, we leave them in for 3 months. Then after that, we take these cover screws out and place the locator abutments. And then we go ahead and retrofit the counterparts into the lower existing denture, and then come back and make an impression, and then make a final implant over denture. And then this final becomes the primary one that's used, and then the original denture becomes a backup. This explains the mechanics of the overdenture to them, and it really is just an effective way for them to understand. So like I said, you can go to the Blue Sky Bio website and retrieve these animations that really are helpful. Here's another one. This is a concept that's a little difficult to explain. I think it scares the hell out of people. But when you talk about an internal sinus lift, when you show this little illustration, it's like, look, you just make this little hole, put this little instrument in there and bump a little bit of bone in there, and then either at the time of the augmentation we'll place the implant, or we'll come back a few months later and place the little implant in that site. It's just a real simple way to explain a concept that really is not that complicated, and it's something that a lot of us are doing routinely, kind of day in and day out. So nice animation. Here's one I don't use as often, but in some cases when patients have had need extensive dental care, it's important for them to understand the whole decay process and the formation of an abscess. Decay gets too deep, and then of course we come back and do a root canal, and then the post buildup, and then finally the full crown preparation and impression. And so when they see crown buildup on their estimate, they see, our post buildup, and they see endodontic therapy for tooth number 28, they'll understand. They've already been shown all this stuff, so they understand it a little bit better. So anyway, going back to the Camtasia software, at the end of every one of these presentations, we've got a prefabricated video that we add on to the end that just explains, the fact that I've been in practice for 40-something years, and my nephew's with me, and we're passionate about dentistry. And you'll see all this in a few minutes when I show you a couple examples of some of the case presentations that we've done recently. And once this is done, you can expect export it directly to YouTube, which is primarily the way that I do it, or you can also export it to a local file. And all that means is a lot of times I'll just export it to the desktop as an MP4 file, and then I'll drop and drag it into YouTube. That's another way to do it, instead of just going directly into YouTube if you find that too confusing. So in a situation like here, we export that out, and then you create a YouTube channel, as I said before. If you don't know how, somebody can show you how, one of your kids probably. And so I probably have 107 of these that I've created over the past couple of years, and they're easy to get to. And once we find the YouTube video that I want to send to the patient, we're going to go ahead and get a shareable link, and then we're going to copy the link to that particular YouTube video, and then I'll send the patient an email. And this is a prefabricated thing that I have in a file, and just said, Dear Carolyn, I've compiled a review regarding your case live from Destin, Florida, because I did it this week, and talk about her particular issues with regard to aesthetics. She's had implants in for 28 years that I did years ago. She had a couple of issues, and she doesn't like the aesthetics now, and the implants have been in over 2 decades. We want to convert her over to multi-unit abutments, but I wasn't sure that we could even find some, because these implants have been out of production, which is a kind of a constant challenge for patients that have had implants for a while. So this is to help her understand, because when she comes in, typically patients are concerned about cost, and I want them to understand the complexity of what's going to be involved in this particular case. And it just says, click on this video link. When she clicks this on, the presentation is going to come up. She can view it. She can look at it with her husband, Ed. And when she comes back in to see me a few days later, she'll understand where we're coming from. Then we can continue the conversation and talk about finances and time and how long it's going to take, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, this is just kind of putting our presentation together. We'll go in and maybe pull some animations in if need be for this particular case. And then we'll come back in here I'm looking around, and I want to find the introduction that I like to put on the front of these. And then I finally found it. It's right there. And so I'll go ahead and drag that into the box, media box, and then we'll drag these things down and kind of line them up. And then after all this is done, I'm sure I'm gonna miss some grandkids, and they've been whining all week. And then at the end of this, we'll go ahead and put in our ending. There's the beginning of the introduction, and at the end of this, we'll put the exit file in, and we'll look at all that at the end of this presentation. So anyway, as I said before, we're not adding a whole lot to what we were doing before. It does take a little bit more time, but I think it's time well spent. We've taken our photographs, X-ray, CT scans, digital models, We've already got the patient animations that we've already shown. We've been doing imaging with Dentron and Photoshop forever. We always have used this chairside charting software as well as PowerPoint. So now it's really a matter of incorporating both of these softwares that I've mentioned before, incorporating that to put all this together and then export it to YouTube, and then go ahead and send out a personalized commentary along with a link to the video, and that sort of constitutes the whole deal. Once again, the advantages: patients can review the case at home, understand things better. Some of these cases, I'll go back and look at the timeline. It's been viewed 5, 10, 15 times, sometimes 20 times by everyone from their spouse to the next door neighbor to their hygienist niece. I've had some patients tell me, man, I showed this to my friend and she said, I want to go see that guy because I was going to drive to wherever to have it done. I'm going to just come to Lafayette and have it done. It's increased our case acceptance significantly, particularly for moderate to extensive cases. It's a great pre-op reference for the doctor and employees, especially for delayed patients, people that we've been seeing for a long time, or patients that we saw years ago and now they want to have their work done, and we still have their video file to go back and refresh our memories. It's great for making sure that the referrals in our office stay on the same page. It's a real comprehensive view of all of their problems as well as solutions. In some cases, we mentioned smoking, we mentioned maintenance, we mentioned vitamin D deficiency, diabetes, and all the things that might be particular to their situation. You're able to view it at the patient's convenience instead of them having to come in and get all confused. They're able to look at it ahead of time and write down notes and concerns. It's also able for patients to confer with their loved ones, and spouse, etc. It saves a lot of time at the office, especially during office hours, of course. It's great, creates great value for dentistry. It's really good medical legal documentation, and it gives the front office as well as the clinical staff a better idea of what's going on. And then the clinical staff in the front office get a lot more educated in terms of what we do, and whether it's on this particular patient or just with dentistry in general. So I'll show you some examples of some presentations.
Hey, Kathy, this is Dr. Smith. As promised, I put together a video review for you to look over before you come in for your consultation visit next week. I'm getting ready to leave to go on vacation. This was on my to-do list of things to get done before we take off for a week in Florida. So anyway, a lot to talk about and a lot for you to consider. And so this will give you some time to kind of mull over some of the points that I'm going to bring out. And then hopefully when you come in, you'll have a much better understanding of where we where we're seeing things from our perspective in terms of where you are in terms of problems and some possible solutions. First of all, we're going to talk about the mobility. We can also talk about the appearance of the teeth as well, because it looks like you might be hiding your smile a little bit because of the shape of the teeth and the shading of the teeth and so forth. And this is your partial smile, and this is something that definitely could be enhanced over time, and we'll look at that in terms of some possibilities. But one of the things I want you to notice is in the lower arch, when we see these bony protuberances here, these are called tori, and this is solid evidence that for a long, long time you clench and or grind your teeth at nighttime, and this is contributing to some of the mobility that you're experiencing with those upper front teeth. There's some other contributing factors, but this is a big one. And so for patients that have these signs, we generally will have them wear a guard at nighttime to protect the upper teeth. The bottom teeth are anchored in this real strong, firm mandibular bone and really do exert a lot of force on the upper front teeth when you're sleeping at nighttime. And because of the fact that you're missing some back teeth, it makes those forces even more detrimental to the remaining front teeth, and that's why I think you're experiencing the degree of mobility that you and I have already discussed. This animation, which I've been showing to patients for years, kind of illustrates what happens when we do lose back teeth. We're losing the support back there. We get a little bit of drifting. And as I said before, we've got these mandibular teeth, the lower teeth that are anchored in this good, strong bone, and they will just pound away at these upper front teeth until eventually these teeth become mobile, and sometimes we even lose them over time as a result of that. So in looking at the situation as far as your smile goes, this is certainly something that could be enhanced. It's really a matter of, what do you want the teeth to look like in terms of how light they are. We can go from that shade to this shade to even lighter as compared to where we are now. And that would be a concern as far as the front teeth go. But in terms of what we can do in the back, we'll look at that in a minute. So they've got this, one of your dentists has splinted this to the adjacent teeth. There's just been a lot of wear and tear on these teeth over the years. And we can see some of the evidence of the clenching and grinding at nighttime is readily apparent on the incisal edges of these lower front teeth. In the back, we're missing these teeth back here. We've got some recession around these teeth, not too bad. Missing these teeth up in here as well. And so when we look at a sort of a bird's eye view of the upper arch, we're missing here, we're missing here. And then when we look at this x-ray, this is, some of the things that I've noticed is we've got some decay down here on the lower right side. This is where you've been packing some food. In addition, up here in the front, this is the tooth that's splinted to the adjacent teeth. Real large filling that's been done there. Of course, we're missing these molars back here, missing these molars here. So as a result of that, these teeth right here are putting a heck of a lot of load on these teeth here. And so really, most of your functioning is really occurring from this eye tooth over to this second bicuspid tooth over here. Molars are made for grinding food, front teeth are made for cutting food, and so you're having to do the majority of chewing on these teeth. And like I said, at nighttime, you're putting a big load on them as well. The bone levels aren't that bad around these teeth. Generally, when we see as much mobility as I'm seeing with your teeth, generally we see more bone loss than this. Although this is significant, it's not terribly. It's not terrible. So that's actually a good finding. This is a complete complement of teeth that you and I both had. You're a couple years older than me, but a long time ago we had all of this. This is where you are now. So we're missing our upper first and second molars on the left side, missing both bicuspids and the second molar on the right side. We can look at one option, and that would be to simply replace those teeth that are missing in the back with implants. And here we're looking at placing 5 implants. And that will take the load off of these front teeth. But then the question becomes, what do we do with the front teeth? Should we look at veneering these teeth or crowning them to try to make the appearance of them look better? We've got some mobility. We've got an issue with this tooth right here. That's an option. We can also look at doing some whitening of the remaining teeth, particularly in the lower arch as well. These are some examples of some similar cases where we had a lot of breakdown in the back. Went ahead and did a complete mouth restoration with implants in the back to support the bite, as well as full coverage of those teeth that needed it. And so this is just some more examples of, dentition is broken down, implant supplementation. Another case, I know you're not used to looking at this stuff, but so I hope it's not bothering you, but it's just to give you an idea of what can be done nowadays in dentistry. This is before, this is after. Complete change in her personality as well as her ability to function. And kind of the same thing here, a lot of wear and tear. This guy's a couple years older than I am, good friend of mine. This is before and this is after. So due to the advances in dental technology, we can certainly make things look a lot better, and dentistry has come a long way. There's another example, a lot of wear and tear on a dentition. This is a complete restoration after. So we've got that option. The other option is we look at the idea, in some cases, anticipating that we're going to have problems in the future with some of the remaining front teeth. Sometimes we abandon ship, sometimes at the patient's request. And we look at the idea of, instead of placing 5 implants, we can use 6 and make a complete zirconium full arch restoration and just eliminate the problems with decay and mobility and appearance altogether as an option. You're going to have to really give some thought to which way you want to go. There's a difference in cost. There's a difference in the time span involved and so forth. So, and we'll get into more detail when you come in. I just want to give you a preliminary idea of what we're looking at. So this is an example of a situation where, maybe we decided to not keep the front teeth, implants in place. At the same visit, we add something called multi-unit abutments, which are these little abutments that screw into these implants, and then we come back the same day and put in a fixed bridge that really is satisfactory in terms of appearance and aesthetics and function and so on and so forth. Rather than in the old days, the patient would have to wear a denture for a period of time. So here's a case where the implants were placed, full zirconium upper bridge taking the place of a denture. We did keep the bottom teeth in this case, and this is a patient going from a denture to full arch fixed dentistry. She's much younger than you and I are. Same thing here. Over and over problems with the upper front and back teeth. dental implants, full arch zirconia bridge work. Nice looking aesthetics, strong as it can be, and certainly something I never dreamed we'd be able to do 40 years ago. So anyway, when these procedures are done, they're done with intravenous sedation, so you don't have any memory of it. It makes our job a lot easier to do. It certainly makes it easier for our patients. And got all these folks that help us out and have to put up with me every day. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell. Just give us some thought, jot down any questions or concerns that you might have, and when you come back in next week after next, we'll discuss those in some more detail. So that's everything in a nutshell. Thank you so much.
So there are a number of reasons for putting these video consultations together for our patients, including being able to show you from our point of view the present condition of your mouth, the problems as well as possible solutions that we see from our perspective, and the concerns that we have if at least some of this treatment isn't initiated in a timely manner with long-term goals in mind. I've been in practice for the past 41 years here in my hometown of Lafayette, and have practiced with Dr. Domang, who's my nephew, for the past 10 years. He and I both have a passion for dentistry and patient care and work with referral offices from all over the state. So anyway, in the meantime, please jot down any questions or concerns that you might have regarding the content presented in this video. We'll be happy to discuss them with you at your upcoming consultation visit. And if you'd like to learn more about our practice, you can go to our website at acadianadentistry.com. Thank you.
Hey Lloyd, I wanted to go ahead and send you this review of findings for you to kind of peruse over, look through, and jot down any questions or concerns that you might have. There's a bunch of things to look at, and that's why I like to kind of sit back and take all of this in and try and see if we can come up with some different solutions to some of the problems that we see. One of the things that we'll notice right off the bat is we look at your smile. We're not lined up with the interpupillary line up, so we've got kind of a slant coming down on the right side. And then if we look at just the occlusion and the way that the teeth are meeting together on the right side, we don't have any bite back here. This tooth is completely decayed out. You've got some temporaries right here. This tooth is kind of offset somewhat. So we don't really have a lot of teeth to chew with when we look at the right side. This bridge work was done on the lower front that's kind of worn down pretty good. And over here, we've got some teeth that are kind of worn down. And really, we're not all the way around. This lower dentition is not really intercuspating with the upper dentition very well at all. So from the standpoint of chewing efficiency, it's not real great. A lot of wear on these two upper front teeth. We're missing the upper right tooth. The broken number 7 is broken off. We still have these temporaries here on the upper left side still, and we're missing a molar on the upper right side as well. And then moving right along, if we start looking at things up close, we've got some issues all the way around. We're not touching back here. This tooth is kind of hanging down. This one broke off. We've got some overgrown gum tissue on these teeth. Nothing really matches up real well. Still have these temporaries, which have been in, I guess, over 5 years now. And once again, we're not touching back here in the back. So there's some concern. Also, there's an unevenness of the gum tissue, when we look at the smile. And so it's just kind of a hodgepodge of things that have come about over the years. And this is frequently something that we see in patients at your age and my age, and a little older and a little younger. So looking at the right side, as I said before, we're really not touching back here at all. Everything, all the weight, all the loads being levied here, and that's probably why this tooth broke off the way that it did. We're not really touching much here on the left side either. So from the standpoint of being able to chew, you're getting by, but it's not real great. This is just a bird's eye view of the upper arch, bird's eye view of the lower arch. And of course, like I said, this needs to be removed. These are still temporaries. There's some decay along in here. This tooth is broken down. This is broken down. This is not touching the opposing dentition at all. And when we look at the panoramic view, we get a better idea. Here are the 2 implants that we placed quite some time ago. We're missing up here, missing down here, and of course, this molar back here needs to be removed. So this is an entire dentition like you and I had back when we were teenagers, and this is where you are now. And what you'll notice is everything is gold colored is to show us where the temporaries are. This is the fixed bridge work that is on those bottom teeth, replacing these missing 3 lower front teeth. And as we move forward, we can look at some options. And one option would be if we retained the remaining teeth in both arches and simply did some comprehensive crown and bridge dentistry to cover everything up, to bring everything into occlusion again, and to balance the bite. That would be one way to go about it. So we'll utilize these two existing implants here. In this situation here, we'd bridge across this space and not even use an implant after that tooth is removed. We'd bridge across this space here, and on the bottom, remake this bridge work to everything is lined up and intercuspating with the opposing dentition the way that it should be. The other option that we can look at is like I said before, here's where we are now. Our other option would be to do something like this, where we utilize these two existing implants up here on the upper left side. We place one where the broken tooth is, where number 7 is, and also where number 4 is. Then we have the laboratory fabricate a zirconium bridge that's actually screwed into place. So we have the ability to retrieve this if need be. It's a pretty slick way of doing things, and we do a lot of this nowadays. And we would do that in combination with simply restoring the lower arch in a similar fashion as to what I was talking about before. So these are two ways to go about correcting this situation. You know, in terms of being able to get, you know, you smile looking the way that it needs to be. Either route would be great. It's really a matter of, you know, can we depend on those remaining teeth to support crown and bridge in the upper arch, or should we kind of jump ship, add 2 more implants, remove those remaining upper teeth, and create a screw-in zirconium bridge. So it's something to think about, and I could lean either way. You know, sometimes patients will give me enough input to where I know where they want to go with this, but I think the important thing is just for you to be able to see it from our perspective and kind of get a better idea of what the problems are and what possible some solutions are. So anyway, I'll see you, I think, Thursday afternoon, and we can talk about this in a little bit more detail. And as I said before, just jot down any questions or concerns, and we'll go through all that stuff when you come in. Thank you.